Hello, Donna here. Welcome to my channel called Something. I think it's going to go back to transcending trauma, but whatever. Welcome regardless. So I want to talk today about interjection, the defense mechanism, interjection, and a little bit about interjects and just some realizations and some stuff I want to share. So human beings come with defense mechanisms. One of them is very commonly talked about, which is projection. And another one is introjection. I think it's interesting because I think they're really sort of on the same continuum. Projection is when someone projects out, most people know what projection is, something about themselves they don't like. So then they project it onto other. It's something they can't accept about themselves. These are very unconscious patterns, by the way. They're just unconscious automated defense mechanisms until we can sort of bring in some awareness, and awareness isn't usually enough. It's, awareness and then, changing the behavior. But projection is projecting outward parts of yourself that you don't accept. So you project them onto another person. If you think that if you have an issue with arrogance, then you project outward and you might say someone's really arrogant. Someone just gave me an example today of someone's behavior, or yesterday. And I said, oh my gosh, that's so classic projection. But it was someone that was kind of transitioning. They were a guy transitioning to a girl or vice versa. And they were having a really hard time, understandably, remedying their feelings around, that split, between being a woman or being a man, and accused this other person who is, I know this person well, very open and non-judgmental, and was accusing this person of poo-pooing on their male side of them. When in actuality, when I heard the story, it was very obvious that this person was pushing away the male side of them and was having a really hard time, accepting that part of them. So that's a classic example of projection, projecting your unacknowledged feelings around something onto someone else. Interjection is, and it's a defense mechanism. It's too hard for me to look at. I don't want to look at it, whatever, so I'm going to project it outward. Interjection is when we internalize. It's also a defense mechanism. If someone tells me I'm stupid, and to create safety so I don't have to argue with this person, I internalize the interject, I am stupid. So it relieves the tension. It's a defense mechanism also. So instead of saying, no, I'm not stupid, I disagree with you, we go into agreement, and then we internalize it's called interjection. So that's where the inner critic comes from. It's from the past internalized interjections. It's a defense mechanism. So, when you're saying really negative, horrible things about yourself, most likely this is an interjection. It's a defense mechanism that you've internalized. And it's always like even the projection, it's for a good thing. The organism's trying to protect itself, So we internalize negative things about ourselves to most likely create safety, So, and then also in childhood, interjects are what every person you've ever met is an interject. You internalize that person. That way, I can't remember the movie. I think it was called 50 First Dates with, I see her face, Adam Sandler, and I can't remember her name, Drew Barrymore. There we go. So even them, I have an internalized interject of them. I remember who those actors are, kind of. And, we have this just so in that movie 50 First Dates, she didn't have interjects. She would forget everyone every morning. So it's kind of the same thing. Like I've mentioned this before on here, I have an interject stored of my children. So when I wake up, I'm not like, who's this stranger in my house, So we internalize, we internalize things. We internalize everything. We are just, I've said it before, I'll say it again, we're storage banks, we internalize stuff. So the interjection, I wanted to slide on here because I was thinking about, we internalize stuff. We internalize conditioned programming from our childhood. We're extremely, people say children are resilient. Children are programmable. We don't have full access to the prefrontal cortex until the age of 25. It's not fully developed. That's the part of the brain that can logic and reason. I mean, children believe in Santa Claus, they're susceptible and vulnerable and naive. So we internalize as we grow up. This is how we get programmed. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's programming, it's how we learn to relate to the world, It depends on what parents I had, it depends on what childhood experience I had. It depends on where I live in the world, We're gonna have different interjects. So I was thinking of one that I never recognized before until today was my mom did not protect me from abuse growing up. And we could make a lot of excuses, and some of them are very valid. They were divorced, my parents, my father died. She, was probably overwhelmed. She was dealing with her own stuff. She, didn't have help, whatever. There are a lot of excuses. It's irrelevant to the interject. I mean, I learned by her not protecting me from abuse, I learned many things. I've realized a lot of them, but today I learned that I internalized the interjection of not protecting myself. So I learned from my mother's behavior how to behave and how to treat myself. We all do this, so I learned the interject of not to protect me because I wasn't protected. So I internalized the internalized mother. We all internalize our parents. So the internalized mother is a non-protector for me, or was. So, I can see this patterned throughout my life that I never protected myself. I mean, it might have came guised in openness, in willing to try things or willing to connect with people that other people may find a little scary or something. Like I said, it kind of guised as openness, but really at the core was an inability to protect myself, So how do we work with these interjects? So I have this internalized programming of just not learning how to protect myself. I didn't get that data. I didn't get that programming. That was not given to me. And my malleable, vulnerable, programmable time, it wasn't given to me. So, it's first having the awareness, and nothing ever changes with just awareness. It's just like an alcoholic can't just realize they're an alcoholic and keep drinking all day long, It's having the realization and then making the effort to change that. So the interjection, all of the negative programming I have, lots of negative programming from growing up in, some adverse situations with some adverse relationships. And, so let's look at this one, like really you get compelled, they say that like 95% of our choices come from our unconscious. We're not like sitting there being really thoughtful about it. And again, it's for ease. Like the brain doesn't want to sit here and, put in all this heavy, which takes a lot of metabolic brain energy to think about everything. It relies on the unconscious, on the past experiences, on the interjections that we have saved. And so, like I've just learned, oh, we don't protect ourselves. We just go out in the world, like not protected. So, you know, changing this programmed habit, like first having this realization, like, holy crap, like I can see where that came from. And I learned not to protect myself, and everything's on a scale, on a spectrum. We don't want to be so rigid and walled off and guarded and so over self-protected that we end up, going on the other end of that spectrum, completely isolated, not open to anyone, fearful and untrusting, But, having this internalized interject, like it can be a healthier in between there somewhere where I realize, okay, it's very obvious that I've never protected myself throughout my life. I've just kind of gone with the flow and, just allowed experiences and, things into my life without really considering, I mean, obviously some really overt things, no, but realizing that I've never really learned how to protect myself. I didn't internalize that healthy parent that protected me, that looked after me and protected me. And again, not trying to rip on her. She had her own life stuff, but it doesn't matter. The interject is still there. It's still internalized. The inability to self-protect, the inability to see a need for protection. So this is where reparenting is really, really good. I know people talk about the inner child, but what does the inner child need? It needs a healthy interject of a healthy parent. So recognizing, okay, I don't have this automatic, unconscious protector, I need to internalize one. I need to learn one, So when I see something that feels, unhealthy for me, my brain can make a lot of excuses for people and things, and I can see the person behind the behavior, which is, it's a nice thing, but does that protect me? No, so with this interject that says we don't protect ourselves, we just go with the flow and we just allow, I can recognize it and then say, what can I do to start to internalize healthier patterns of my own behaviors, of, like one, slowing things down in relationships, like two, not being so open, not being rigid, but, allowing people to slowly unfold, to not deny and excuse away unhealthy behavior, not make excuses. We can make excuses good and bad when we, judge situations. We can say, oh, well, it was their past that made them like that, or, oh, they're just hurting, But to recognize that there's also a self, a me in there, and, well, that may be someone hurting. Is it healthy for me to be connecting to them right now when they're, doing the opposite thing of the interjection, which is projection, and, projecting a lot of their wounds out onto me, and, so just working with the interjects and, like recognizing that, like a lot of the unhealthy ways that we see ourselves are just past interjections, and recognizing that too. So when I start really getting really down on myself, one that I hear a lot is, nobody likes you. No one likes you. My ex said this. I think I got this messaging throughout my life. I've also have plenty of experience with people that, like I filled in at work the other day, and I try, when my brain starts sending me the interject of, nobody likes you, nobody likes you. My ex said that all the time. I think that was his own projection that I then internalized, an interjection. So he was projecting this negative thing, nobody likes me, this negative feeling that he couldn't feel. Nobody likes me. So he projected it onto me nobody likes you. And then I picked it up and internalized it instead of objecting it, you know? And so I internalized it. Nobody likes me. So, you know, like I call this proofing. I wanted to talk about this sometime, and then it's really long. I'll just let it go. But it's kind of a therapy thing I made up myself. It's looking for the proof. So we can find proof either way of anything. You know, it's kind of where we focus. Like I can definitely find proof of where people have not shown that they liked me throughout life. I can find that. I can keep that interjection alive within me. I definitely can. I can also find proof of the opposite of that. So I was saying, I had filled in at work the other day, and you know, I had like several people. I mean, I had one girl hug me and wouldn't let go. I had another girl chase me out to the parking lot and I was leaving and knock on my window until I opened it, and she hugged me and told me how much she missed me. So like, it's, you know, it's kind of where we point our focus, and it's not denying reality. You know, like there's definitely people in life that have made me feel like they don't like me, you know, but I can't just focus on just that, you know, also recognizing that that interjection is not 100% true. There are also people that do like me. So there, you know, the both exists out there, you know, so that's a way to kind of break up these distortions, these interjections, is look for the proof of the opposite. I guess they would say the proof of the positive, but a proof of the opposite, you know? And like, even anything, like say you always wanted to dance and someone told you you couldn't dance, you know, like, and then you just go into agreement with it, like, yeah, I can't dance. But what if that's something you want to do? So even if you could say, oh, it's too much of a leap. Oh, no, I'm a magnificent dancer. What about, well, I feel passion for it, so I'm going to start practicing every day, or I'm going to take classes. Do you know what I mean? So we can dissipate these unhealthy interjections, you know? And anyways, I'm just going to let it go. I do want to go deeper into like how amazing interjections are. I'll end with this. Think about this. So we internalize everyone we've meet, everything we've experienced, you know? So like, I internalize every relationship I have. And again, it's so the brain doesn't have to, every time you see someone, you're not like, who is that? You know, we internalize it. But isn't that amazing that everything you know or perceive or believe about this person is stored inside of you? So that interjection lives inside of you. It's not walled off. You know, it could be. I mean, we can compartmentalize things, but that interjection, this is how society works. This is how we connect as social beings. We carry the interjection, and, you know, like, so everything about that person is internalized inside of me. You see what I mean? Like, that is now part of me, you know? So the interjection I have of this person is now a part of me. So that's why it's so important to have healthy relationships, because, you know, when you have relationships with abusers and you've internalized the interjection, that lives inside of you. I'm not saying you're an abuser, but that experience, you know, that stuff is seeping into your consciousness, you know? So I could go way deeper. I'll just end with that. Peace out.